Good morning. I hope this is a lovely, tranquil, peaceful Sunday for you all and that you've had an excellent weekend. Write the bad things that are done to you in the sand, but write the good things that happen to you in marble. The best answer will come from the person who is not angry. If you are unable to reward, then make sure to thank. Send a wise man, don't advise him. It's better to fix what you have than wait to get what you do not have. Actions speak louder than words. A tree begins with a seed. Anger begins with madness, but it ends in regret. Avoid that which requires an apology. Silence is the sign of approval. Arrogance diminishes wisdom. A known mistake is better than an unknown truth. Ask the experienced rather than the learned. You reap what you sow. If you are charitable, you are rich. Close the door that brings in the wind and relax. The wisest of us is he who can forgive. Wealth comes like a turtle and runs away like a gazelle. Winds blow counter to what the ship wants. Falseness lasts an hour, but truth until the end of time. No matter what your appearance, when you have kindness in your heart, you are the most beautiful person in the world. The worst of our faults is our interest in the faults of others. A person's tongue can give you a taste of his heart. And along that same line of thought, from the same part of the world, from the same theology, I want to tell you a couple of little stories. First one is the story of the two frogs. There are a group of frogs, a bunch of frogs hanging around, hopping around together, going about their froggy business. And they come across a huge pit. And two frogs, not paying attention to where they're hopping, found themselves into the pit. They fell down into this deep pit and they could not climb back out. So they jumped and they jumped and they jumped as hard as they could, but it didn't seem like they were going to be able to get out of this pit. It was just too deep. Above them, along the edges, they could see all their froggy cohorts and friends, acquaintances. And as their friends and acquaintances and cohorts watched these two frogs struggle and wear themselves out and collapse in exhaustion from all the effort that they put forth trying to jump up out of this pit, they started to yell down to them, look, just accept your fate. You're going to perish. You will die down there. You'll never be able to get out. It's too high. It's too high. You're wasting your last bits of energy. You're never going to get out. It just can't be done. Still, the frogs continued to try, and they tried, and they tried. And the crowd of frogs above continued to say, stop, stop, you're only tormenting yourself. You're only tormenting yourself. You're going to perish down there. It's hopeless. You can't get out. It's hopeless. One frog, all of the input from the frogs at the top sunk into him. And he agreed, and he realized it was hopeless. He wasn't going to get out of there, that he was going to die. And the frogs at the top yelled down to them, You know, you should have been following the froggy path. You should have been paying attention, as good frogs do, to where you were stepping and what you were doing. And it wouldn't have happened to you. It's your own fault, unfortunately. It's terrible, but it's your fault. So that frog who had been listening so intently to all of this, he finally conceded and said, they're right, yeah. So he stopped, and he just collapsed down at the bottom of the pit. And he had given up all hope, and he died. He succumbed and he died. All the frogs above watched and felt it was very sad but inevitable. But the second frog in the pit, he didn't give up. He kept jumping with all his might. All his might, even in the face of the impossibility, he continued to jump. And somehow, miraculously, he was able to grasp hold of the edge with one final leap and pulled himself out of there. Exhausted, he collapsed, but he had saved himself. He was saved. And all the frogs looked at him and said, why did you not give up? Why did you continue? How did you know you could do this impossible feat? And the frog looked at them and he said, what? He read their lips and he said, I am deaf. And when I saw all of you gathered above yelling and hollering, I thought that you were cheering me on. I thought you were encouraging me, and that gave me the strength to continue and to overcome. There's another story that I want to share with you, one last one. I don't want to hold you up for too long this morning. And that's the story of a professor with his many students. They had left class and they were heading up the road, following the path, breaking for lunch maybe. And so the teacher walked with his students, and they came upon a field where there were many workers in the field. And by the side of the road, they noticed a coat and some shoes where one of the workers had left his shoes and his coat as he went and toiled into the field. So one of the students said to the professor, the teacher, one of the students said, hey, why don't we play a trick? Let's take his shoes and hide in the bushes with them and then see how he reacts when he comes out and finds that his shoes are gone. And it'll be really funny. And the professor said, instead, you are well off. You're well provided for by your family. Why not instead place a coin in each of his shoes and leave them where they are and hide in the bushes and see how he reacts when he discovers these coins there? So they did. Put a coin in each shoe and he hid in the bushes. The worker came out of the field and he came up to gather his coat and his shoes. He put his foot in his shoe as he was putting his coat on, and he felt something in there. So he took the shoe off and he shook it out, and it was a coin. And he looked in the other shoe and there's another coin. And the man fell to his knees and began to sob. And he looked to the heavens and he said, my God, thank you, thank you. He said, my wife is sick and dying. I have no money to care for her. My children have been hungry. Thank you. I don't know where this came from, but God in heaven above, thank you. Seeing this, the student who had placed the coins in the shoes was warmed in his heart. And the teacher said to him, is not it better to give? And is not the true gift in giving that which you receive? And I would just like to add to any of our brothers and sisters out there that may feel persecuted or misunderstood in any regard, the words of a prophet that were, there will come a time when holding on to your religion will be like holding a burning lump of coal. That's all for today. Take care and have a blessed Sunday.